Her punishment was a human mate, but his touch awakened her desires. The council chamber glowed with the cold, crystalline light of the high spire. Rows of elders sat in their carved thrones, their jeweled eyes watching with silent judgment. At the center of the chamber knelt Lyra, once the most celebrated warrior of the Zavrathi clan, now stripped of her title, her honor, and her command. Her voice trembled, but her chin was high. "I fought for our survival. I disobeyed an order because it was wrong. I saved lives." "Silence," the eldest intoned. His voice carried the weight of centuries. "Your arrogance has endangered us, and for that you must be punished." The hall stirred. Punishment among her people was often brutal, but Lyra had never imagined the sentence that would follow. "You will be bound," the elder continued, "to a mate not of your kind. A human." Gasps rippled through the chamber. Humans were considered primitive, fragile, and beneath the Zavrathi. To be tied to one, bonded by flesh and law, was unthinkable. Lyra's breath caught, fury burning in her veins. Yet no plea escaped her lips. To show fear was to give them victory. The human was brought to her the next morning. His name was Kael. He stood tall, broader than most of her warriors, with dark hair falling into sharp eyes that regarded her not with awe, but with defiance. His clothing was simple, his hands rough, no stranger to work or hardship. "So," he said flatly, after the guards left them alone in the chamber, "you're the one they're forcing me to take." Lyra bristled. "Do not think yourself fortunate. I did not choose this." His mouth quirked in something like a half-smile. "Neither did I." For days they were confined together in the dwelling assigned to them, a place of stone walls and high windows overlooking the alien city. Lyra ignored him at first, throwing herself into silence and discipline. But Kael was not so easily dismissed. He asked questions. He moved with casual ease, as though her people's cold grandeur did not intimidate him. And when she snapped, he only grinned as though her rage amused him. On the fifth night, a storm tore across the sky, thunder rattling the windows. Lyra sat by the fire, arms wrapped around herself though she would never admit to the chill. Kael entered quietly, carrying a cloth bundle. He set it down, unwrapped it, and revealed warm bread and dried meat. "Stole it," he said simply, breaking the loaf in half. "Figured you were too proud to ask for food." Her eyes narrowed, but her stomach betrayed her with a low growl. He handed her the bread without a word. She accepted, their fingers brushing for the briefest instant. Heat surged where his skin touched hers, an unfamiliar spark that lingered even after she drew back. Lyra stared into the fire, unsettled. She was a warrior. She had never been ruled by the weakness of desire. Yet Kael's presence gnawed at her resolve. His voice, his touch, the scent of him. It awakened something dangerous within her. The days blurred. Forced to share space, they learned the rhythms of each other's silence. Kael spoke of his homeworld, forests that breathed with mist, rivers that sang, a people who fought not with blades but with endurance. Lyra found herself listening, imagining landscapes she had never seen. One evening, after a long exchange of words that shifted from sharp to soft, Kael reached out and caught her wrist. She froze, every muscle tense. "You're not the monster they say you are," he murmured. His thumb brushed against her skin, gentle where others had only sought to command. Her chest tightened. No warrior's grip had ever felt like this, neither ownership nor restraint, but recognition. Her lips parted, yet no sound emerged. For the first time in years, she felt unarmored. Their bond deepened, unspoken but undeniable. When she trained in the courtyard, Kael would watch, sometimes daring to mimic her movements until she barked at him to stop, only to find herself laughing when he toppled. When he fell silent, she caught herself missing his voice. When he touched her hand, even by accident, her pulse quickened like the clash of battle. Still pride held her back. Until the night the elders summoned her once more. They told her the punishment was complete. She had lived with a human. Now she was free to renounce the bond and return to her clan. Her heart pounded. Freedom. The word she had clung to. Yet when she looked at Kael, standing silently beside her, something inside her fractured. To walk away would be to step back into the cage of honor and pride. To stay would mean surrendering to this dangerous, awakening fire. The elder's voice was cold. Choose Lyra of the Zavrathi. Silence stretched. Lyra lifted her head, gaze steady. I choose him. Gasps echoed again. But Lyra no longer cared. She turned to Kael, whose lips curved into a slow, disbelieving smile. When his hand found hers, she did not pull away. Instead, she leaned into his warmth, her voice steady at last. My punishment awakened me, and I will not surrender it. The elders watched in silence, their judgment impotent against the blaze in her eyes. Lyra had been broken to bend, but instead she had risen, choosing desire, choosing him. And as Kael's fingers intertwined with hers, Lyra understood. What began as punishment had become her freedom. The chamber was silent after Lyra's declaration, her words still hanging in the crystalline air like a challenge to the elders themselves. For a heartbeat, no one dared to breathe. You would forsake your honor, one elder demanded, his jeweled eyes narrowing. Lyra straightened her shoulders, fire in her voice. No, I would redefine it. Honor is not blind obedience. Honor is standing for what burns true inside you. And I will not turn from him. Kael's hand tightened around hers, steady and unyielding. He did not speak, but his presence said everything. Solid, unafraid, chosen. Lyra glanced at him, and in his eyes she saw not pity, not ownership, but a mirror of her strength. The elders conferred in low, uneasy tones, their authority shaken. Never before had a warrior rejected the path back to the clan. Never before had anyone dared to claim love as defiance. Finally the eldest rose, his voice heavy with reluctant resignation. So be it. You walk a path outside of us. You are no longer Zavrathi. The words, meant to wound, instead freed her. Lyra exhaled, the weight of centuries of expectation falling away. She turned to Kael, her armor of pride stripped bare, and for the first time she allowed herself a small, unguarded smile. Then I am only mine, she whispered. And yours. Kael drew her close, his forehead resting gently against hers. His voice low enough for only her to hear. No punishment could ever make me regret this. Together they stepped out of the council chamber, hand in hand. Behind them, whispers of outrage and disbelief echoed. Ahead of them stretched an uncertain future, raw and uncharted. But for Lyra, it was freedom and desire that lit the way.